Hello, this is Dr. Divya Pradhan, and today we are going to talk about classification of living things. So first, living organisms are assigned to groups based on the similarities. We all know that, yes. Two terms that we come across, taxonomy and systematics. So what is taxonomy? So taxonomy is the discipline of identifying and grouping organisms. Systematics, on the other hand, is the study of evolutionary relationship amongst organisms. And of course, based on taxonomy and systematics, we are going to classify living things into different groups, which are called taxa. We'll talk about that in a few minutes, okay? All right. So the first thing first, living things are classified into three main domains, large groups. And there's, of course, the domain bacteria, the domain archaea, and the domain Eukarya. These three domains are based on biochemical and genetic evidence, of course. The bacteria and archaea belong to a group, and we call them the prokaryotic cells. Now, what are prokaryotic cells? Prokaryotic cells will, let me see if I can turn on my pen. So the prokaryotic cells is, the way to write it is prokaryotic cell. And look at the word. Pro means primitive. Karyon means nucleus. Also called false nucleus. There's nothing called false and true. Basically what we are saying is that there is no nuclear membrane. So if you see the cell, you will see the chromosome lying in the cytoplasm. So there is no separation of the nucleoplasm from the cytoplasm. Okay. Eukarya comes from the word eu. Eu means true. Karyon means nucleus. There's nothing called true and false nucleus, like I said. But basically what eukaryotes means is a true nucleus, but that's not correct. What it means is that there is a nuclear, they have a nuclear membrane. So now if you see the cell has the cytoplasm or the living jelly, and then you'll have another membrane called the nuclear membrane. Inside the nuclear membrane you'll see the chromosomes. So the chromosome, unlike the prokaryote, is enclosed within another membrane. Once again, prokaryote, there's no nuclear membrane. The chromosome lies in the cytoplasm. All right. Okay. Now let's see the first domain. That's domain archaea. Now, even though domain archaea and bacteria both are prokaryotes, archaea or archaeobacteria are totally different. Why? Because they live in extreme environments. Let's see the extreme environments. Underwater sea vent or very, very hot springs. We'll talk about what they are called. Or for example, in a very cold environment, in a very acidic environment, in a very basic environment. So domain archaea, even though they do not have a nuclear membrane, just like bacteria, you cannot call them, you cannot say that they resemble bacteria, in the sense that they have a very different biochemical makeup. For example, the cell wall is totally different. Cell membrane will be different. Why will it be different? Because remember, they live in very what? Extreme environments, right? Okay, let's see domain bacteria. So the domain bacteria, of course, bacteria are found everywhere, and like I said, they are found even within human beings. We all know this. They cause diseases, but some of them are also very beneficial. Like for example, the gut bacteria, the human gut bacteria. All right, if we did not have the gut bacteria, we would be prone to many diseases. And of course, the gut bacteria have a mutualistic relationship. In other words, that they are providing lots of vitamins that we cannot get from anywhere else, all right, in our diet. All right, eukaryotes. The eukaryotes, like I said, if you look at a eukaryote, it will have a nuclear membrane, okay? And here's my chromosome. So these are further subdivided into 4 different kingdoms, which is the next smaller group. So Protista, fungi, plantae, animalia. Let's see what is the characteristic. So the protista, the word protista comes from the word primitive. So pro means first, okay? So here it's very primitive in the sense they have single cell. Some are multicellular, but most are single celled forms. And the type of nutrition that they have is photosynthesis, or they ingest food. Lots of examples in here: paramecium, euglena, slime, dinoflagellates, of course. Then we have the fungi or the fungus. These are single celled, but they're also multicellular. They're filamentous, but what is so unique is that they are saprophytic. In other words, that they live on dead, decomposing forms. Their cell wall, of course, is also very unique because it's made up of chitin. If you have eaten seafood, then you know what I'm talking about, chitin. Plantae, multicellular forms. These are with specialized complex cells, but the important thing is that they're able to photosynthesize food because they have the green pigment, the chlorophyll. All right. So this contains the mosses, the ferns, the pine trees or the gymnosperms, the beautiful flowering plants, the angiosperms, and finally the animalia, which are multicellular forms with specialized complex cells. They do not make their own food, they ingest food, they are heterotrophs. Included within this category, of course, are all the animals that we see, including human beings. All right. Now, what are the categories of classification? So we said domain was the largest and subdivided into smaller group, kingdom, which is then smaller group, phylum, class, order, family, genus, and finally the smallest unit of classification, which is species. All these groups are called taxa, or what is a taxon. Taxa is plural, taxon is singular, and of course each taxon contains a group or of one or more population of organisms. Okay, so here let's look at the species. The species, like I said, is the smallest unit of classification, and this includes a group of organisms that can reproduce, remember, successfully. They will produce fertile offsprings. It's possible nowadays through science that you can hybridize, say for example, let's go through something crazy like a pea and a human being, okay, but you're not going to produce fertile forms. All right, so a species is definitely a group of forms that can successfully successfully reproduce, excuse me. But because of hybridization, because of science, nowadays the boundaries between closely related species is becoming very, very unclear. All right, because science is a very, very much changing topic. Things that we know today, hopefully in the future you'll know more, obviously, right? Think back on what you knew before. We are now, with each day we are discovering new forms, new things. All right, so what are the categories of classification, or why classify? Of course, this helps biologists understand the variety of life, and especially this will help organisms now are classified based on evolutionary relationship. So now we know where they stand in the evolutionary ladder. Okay, so still, like I said, that this is a changing topic. Things that were classified today may be slightly classified different as newer species are discovered. All right, so here let's look at the classification of humans. Domain Eukarya, of course, you don't know, that cells with the nuclei. Kingdom Animalia, yes, human beings are multicellular, motile, and ingest. Chordata, phylum Chordata. Why? Because they have a notochord and a nerve cord. Mammalia, because they have hair and mammary glands. Primates, because they can climb trees. Hominidae, because they are adapted to walk erect. Genus Homo, because they have large brains and know how to use the tools. And finally, the species is sapiens. The scientific name will be Homo sapiens. Sapiens, why? Because the body characteristics are similar to modern humans. So any forms that have these characteristics and resemble the modern human being will belong to will have the scientific name Homo sapiens. All right. Now you know very interestingly that there have been other species of human beings on Earth, and unfortunately they were lost with time, or fortunately were lost with time. Otherwise we'll never be here, right? All right, so scientific names. The last thing for this slide is how to write a scientific name correctly. So scientific name, we follow the binomial. Bi means what? Two. Nomial means name. So the binomial system of nomenclature, and of course this was designed by none other than Linnaeus. So earlier Linnaeus, the language that they used was Latin. Okay, and there are certain rules of writing the scientific name. A scientific name is made up of two parts, the genus and the species. So you write the genus first and the species. Now when you are writing like this, when you're typing it in, you can italicize, right? But what if you are hand writing it? Then you have a choice. You can write it like this, Homo sapiens, all caps, all right? But if you don't want to write it all caps and you wanted to write it in running handwriting, then you have to follow some rules, right? So here again, Homo sapiens, H will be uppercase, everything else lowercase, separated, and you have to draw a line. Many students make this mistake. This is what they will write. Wrong. Also wrong. This is correct. This is correct. I guess with this we come to our end of our PowerPoint presentation. So if there are any questions or concerns, please reach out to me, and I'm always happy to answer questions. Thank you. Have a great day. Bye.